Today we'll be discussing the most recent developments on the global impact of the coronavirus outbreak.
Followed by the debate sparked by Senator Elizabeth Warren's recent guest appearance on SNL.
And finally, we're bringing you the latest CSUF and local news. All this and more on today's episode of The Report.
Hello and welcome to The Report, Cal State Fullerton's premier source for news, views, and information. I'm Ryan Matthey.
I'm Alexa Cardenas, filling in for Bree Eastlick.
And I'm Jefferson Denham. Before we get started today with our first hot topic, we'd like to invite you to be a part of the discussion. Follow us on Twitter at The Report CSUF to check out our polls, questions, and news updates. We also are active on Instagram. Check out our Titan TV Instagram at Titan TV CSUF for behind-the-scenes footage, sneak peeks, and bonus content.
The coronavirus has not only been affecting public health, but also Hollywood movie studios. In China, a major box office market for the industry, 70,000 theaters have been closed due to the coronavirus and their concerns around it. It is unknown when they will be reopening, impacting and postponing the release of 5 major movies already. MGM and Universal's newest James Bond installment, No Time to Die, is the first to experience a release date change from April now to November. Italy is also being hit by a rapid coronavirus growth, affecting the production of Paramount's 7th Mission Impossible movie, putting them on pause. Other released or upcoming Hollywood movies such as Sonic the Hedgehog, Bloodshot, and the much anticipated Mulan remake will be on an intermission in China. It is expected future movies will not be seen in China theaters in the next weeks or months. Additionally, industry-related events and conventions have also been canceled or postponed over coronavirus concerns, such as South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and Emerald City Comic-Con in Seattle, Washington. As a whole, not only has coronavirus affected individual citizens, it has also impacted the entertainment industry as well as global economy.
In more COVID-19 news, as the United States continues to face the outbreak of the Wuhan, China coronavirus, the U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams made headlines last week after he sat down in an interview with CNN anchor Jake Tapper. While speaking with Tapper on Sunday, Adams said he feels, quote, pretty good, end quote, that the virus is being contained in some parts of the country. These statements come as more than 550 cases of the virus and 21 deaths from the same hit the U.S. Adams continued by stating the average age of people who have died from the coronavirus is around 80, with the average age of people who need medical attention at around 60. He noted that President Trump is apparently in better health than he himself is, and is even potentially healthier than some, quote, 30-year-olds, end quote, and those who face comorbidities that may be more at risk of death. He urges elderly Americans with underlying medical conditions to avoid crowded spaces, including airplanes and cruise ships. Well, that's interesting because the president had recently said, I don't know if you know this, those folks that were quarantined on a cruise ship, he said, leave them there. Oh, unless my advisors tell me differently. And they did. When Jake Tapper asked him a specific question, which is a great question, out of the 3 candidates for president now, they're all in their 70s, and they say this is the sweet spot of catching this virus, of getting in trouble, right? And so Tapper asks him about it, and he says, oh, Trump is so healthy, he's healthier than 30-year-olds. I'm thinking, dude, just answer the question and say, oh, that's a good, genuine question. We should answer that. He doesn't. So it just, to me, it makes it hard to take anything that he said seriously.
It's difficult because he is the source. He is
right.
The figure we should be looking for this information. So when we have, Jake Tapper asking him how many people have been tested for this, he's not able to give that number. And I understand not wanting to give an incorrect number. Totally respect that. But not from you, though, because you are the guy who's supposed to have this information. So that's not helping in this widespread, craziness that we have with the coronavirus, with people, looting Costco's. Like, I can't find Purell anywhere because, all of our Costco's have been looted already with them. So it's, we need someone right now to be that figure for us, telling us what we need to do to prevent ourselves from getting this virus. And he did give us a little bit of information saying the things that we already know, like wash your hands regularly. But beyond that, we need you to get your stuff together a little bit.
Exactly. I think it's just contributing to the panic, the hysteria that's going on right now, and it's affecting everything. It's affecting the economy. Like American Airlines, the flights dramatically reduced. On top of that, New York Times recently also suggested that the March Madness basketball tournament is considering playing without an audience. So that's just huge.
Wow.
I think it's crazy how much
there's craziness happening, and for us traveling folks, flights right now are very cheap. So if you wanted to go somewhere, now's the time.
No.
Don't get the virus. But the whole thing with the coronavirus, it's way out of hand because as the statistics have said, as the CDC has said, it's affecting elderly people, like 60 to 80 years old and above. And you also, on top of that, also need to have a couple of medical conditions that are going to make your immune system less resistant to being attacked by the coronavirus.
Right.
And so we already know that it's not affecting, let's say any people like us three on the panel right now. And we know it's just to wash our hands regularly. We know hand sanitizer is not going to cut it straight out unless there's at least 60% of alcohol in it. We found that out from the CDC. And so he did give us some information, but right now in this hysteria and the media kind of freaking out about it, this ain't it.
Yes. Okay, moving on to our next story. Sunday marked International Women's Day, and while everyone was taking to social media to share about the women they admired, Mexico celebrated a little differently. Advocacy groups asked women to stay home on Monday, March 9th, to strike against gender violence. CNN reporter Matt Rivers gives us insight from Mexico City.
It's always tough for Lydia Florencio to talk about her daughter. And as we look at old pictures, she breaks down a bit. It's clear that this day is harder than others. She would have turned 27 years old today, she says. I can't explain how painful it is knowing I'll never see my daughter again. Her daughter, Diana Velázquez Florencio, was raped and murdered not far from her house in July 2017. 2.5 years later, there's still no suspect. Who killed her? What did they tell her during the last moments of her life? Why did they do it, she asks. All those questions, and the government has done nothing to help. Where is the murderer? Police haven't responded yet to our requests for comment, but Diana's murder was classified by police as a femicide, the term used when women are killed because of their gender. 1,006 such murders took place in Mexico last year.
Dice ni perdón ni olvido. Justicia para Diana Velázquez Florencio.
So what that says is basically no forgiving, no forgetting, justice for Diana Velázquez Florencio. Lydia brought a bigger version of that to Mexico City on Sunday, her daughter's image joining thousands of other signs as protesters filled the streets.
Para defender los derechos.
This woman says we're here to demand rights for women and for justice for femicide victims. Overall, 10 women per day were murdered in Mexico in 2019.
Porque me uno a las.
This woman says, I'm here to unite with other women, to stand with them, to demand justice. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's response has faced heavy criticism as he's blamed the problem on past governments. It's a process of progressive degradation that has to do with the neoliberal model, he says. For Lydia, it all adds up to an inadequate government response.
Por todas esas autoridades.
She says we're here because the authorities are lazy and inept. We're demanding that the federal government takes gender violence seriously. So she marches, a mother's act of fighting for her daughter and for everyone else's. Ni una más, ni una asesinada más, they chant. Not one more, not one more murder. Matt Rivers, CNN, Mexico City.
Wow. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. These strikes are incredibly powerful, and these femicides are very, very real. Very, very real. They're averaging about 10 deaths per day right now, and with an 137% increase over the last 5 years. That's terrifying. So I would just like to know, what do you guys think of this?
Well, you know, when the president comes out and he says it's all the new policies or whatever the policies were before I came into power, that's what's contributing to this horrible, ridiculous situation. Not owning any responsibility for trying to fix it. No wonder people are up in arms about that. And I just got to say, too, that what better way to utilize the International Day of Women to highlight things where women are still being put down. And even in the 21st century, this is a thing. And so here it is yet again for all to see. And what was it? I think 1,006 cases last year. Yes. And it was 900 and some the year before. So not only is it a terrible epidemic, it's increasing. So
what is awful though is why do people have protests like this? Why do they do this? It's because they want it to change on a social level first and foremost, but also on a federal level. And so we have the president who said that it was his opponent's way of trying to make him look bad, like during re-election time, right? And then we have the head of Mexico's public administration secretary saying that women should strike outdoors should strike in home instead of at the doors when there might be tempted to wash dishes instead. So like things like that is just
that's wonderful.
You're trying to fix an issue, and then you have officials just kind of disregarding it, saying like it's no big deal. I don't know what they think will happen by these comments. I don't know if they think women will just all of a sudden die down and they won't speak. But it's affecting not just Mexico too. It's women everywhere.
Yes.
Women across the entire planet. Like there are issues with how we interact with them and how we treat them socially. And if you, as federal people, if you guys want these to stop, then maybe listen to what they have to say and understand that women are humans and they have issues.
And the fact that we live in a country, let's talk about America now for a second, that does not have an equal rights amendment. I mean, they've tried to get it and it's come close. And my mom was a single mom, growing up, and I'm a big fan of powerful women. So yay, more protests, please. Yes. Let your voices be heard.
Exactly.
That's what I think.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on now to some American news. Live from New York, it's more controversy for ex-presidential hopeful Elizabeth Warren. Just days after suspending her campaign for the 2020 presidential election, she made a surprise cameo on NBC's Saturday Night Live. After her cameo, SNL's official Instagram posted a video of Warren performing the TikTok Flip the Switch challenge with SNL castmate Kate McKinnon. Many criticized the Massachusetts senator for not yet endorsing a Democratic presidential candidate and instead joking about not doing so in her guest appearance on the sketch comedy show. As many believe Warren's backing could sway the election, this is one debate she can't laugh off. And I will say we did have a poll on our official Twitter about this. We asked you guys what you were thinking about her not supporting somebody and instead joking about it on the SNL show. We had over 60% saying her campaign's over. Let her do what she wants. This is her time to, chill out. She had a stressful, almost year at this point, or even more maybe. And then we have 28% saying, no, you need to endorse a candidate. And I will say I'm kind of surprised by this poll because a lot of what I've seen on Twitter is very Elizabeth Warren, what are you doing? Your campaign may be over, but Bernie's is not. And that's what everyone's alluding to. They think that Elizabeth Warren should be putting her endorsement towards Sanders so that he will have this advantage when we have this growing number of people supporting Biden, which I feel like came out of nowhere. I did not, if you talked to me, 2 months ago, I would have said Biden has no chance. He all of a sudden does after the Super Tuesday, and he, astoundingly got a lot of delegates from there. Now's the time for Warren to take her supporters and her just as a figure and put it behind Sanders when he desperately needs it right now. From the viewpoint of people who support Sanders, they need him, or they need her and her supporters. What do you guys think about this?
What do you think, my dear?
I think that can definitely sway the election with whoever she chooses to endorse. I was looking at the numbers. Biden won 10 states. Again, I didn't see that coming either. And with Sanders won 4. But the big one here is California. So we're hoping, or it would be crazy to see who she would endorse, to see how that would sway the election and see what happens then.
It is interesting, like you said, like you both said, it was a surprise to see how Biden all of a sudden has all this swell of support. I'm not so sure that Elizabeth Warren, whatever she says, is going to throw all that much create this kind of momentum for Bernie.
You don't think the hardcore Warren supporters would then go behind Bernie if she said, I endorse Bernie?
Well, they're either doing that now or they're not going to. I think most Democrats are saying whoever will win the election, whoever's got the momentum to win this election, that's who I'm for. So I think you see a lot of Democrats saying that. By the way, so with the poll and with what happens on Twitter, I think we've seen many times is not the real world. It's people who are shouting, first of all. Second of all, have we forgotten in the modern presidential age, these kinds of things, these kinds of stunts, they happen all the time. When Nixon lost, he lost to Kennedy and then he lost in his bid to become governor, what does he do? He goes on the Tonight Show and he plays piano. Do you remember Bill Clinton? When he was being counted out, he went on the Arsenio Hall show and played saxophone. So the fact that she is on Saturday Night Live, and I don't know if you watched the episode, I thought it was brilliant. When she actually was out,
it was funny.
It was really fun to watch.
Real quick, going back to your comment, Jefferson, about Twitter and saying, people shouting on Twitter, that's not the real word. Respectfully, I disagree with you because Twitter is the place for people who don't have a platform. For people who don't have a platform, Twitter and other social media places are where they will go to get their voice heard. And so on a widespread level, you have media outlets who are constantly covering Biden, and it seems for a lot of outlets I've seen kind of negatively towards Bernie because of what he'll bring in his presidency if he was to be elected, right? He's very progressive. He wants, to tax the rich a bunch of money because they have the money to do so. And, in the time where we have Biden, who has had a lot of very scandalous things in the past in terms of when he was, in charge of voting for certain things, he voted against gay marriage. He voted for just some really awful things that people don't want to come into the office. They don't want the hypocrisy of, choosing Biden to lead the people of this very progressive movement and then just nothing happening from there. And so in terms of Twitter, Twitter's the place for everybody to be heard. And so I will say for people who then have any other opinions, though, Twitter and everywhere else is the time for you to make your voices heard, especially right now when we are so close to the presidential election.
True that.
Definitely. Okay, moving on to this next story. Singer and songwriter Taylor Swift recently donated $1 million to the Middle Tennessee Emergency Response Fund to help the communities affected by the devastating tornadoes that destroyed central Tennessee. On Super Tuesday, March 3rd, 2 tornadoes struck the state, resulting in at least 24 people dead and hundreds of buildings demolished. Now, this isn't the first time Swift has donated to help her hometown in situations like this. In 2010, Swift also donated $500,000 for a Nashville flood relief. Other artists and groups have also donated funds to relief foundations and natural disaster efforts. The hashtag Nashville Strong trended on social media last week as many users extended their thoughts to the Nashville community.
So hang on to your wrappers because you just might find a golden ticket from Netflix soon. Director Taika Waititi of Jojo Rabbit and Thor Ragnarok fame is in the works of creating 2 animated series based on Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for Netflix. It's pretty sweet, considering the fact that Waititi will write, direct, and produce the remake of this family classic. Netflix took to Twitter to announce on Thursday that the first series will focus on the main characters from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, followed by the Oompa Loompas. Netflix further claimed that they will, quote, retain the quintessential spirit and tone of the original story while building out the world and characters far beyond the page of the Dahl book for the very first time, end quote.
In keeping with our March coverage of highlighting amazing women throughout International Women's Month, here's a story that's bringing down the house. Buildings. Irvine resident Mindy Bouye was looking to build homes for those struggling to find housing. This issue is one close to her heart, which led her to team up with Habitat for Humanity as part of their Orange County International Women Build 2020 project. Bouye began to build houses with other women in her community. International Women Build Week ran last week from March 1st to March 8th. During this time, about 6,000 women builders from 235 communities worldwide participated in building homes to better their communities. In the future, Bouye would like to build tiny homes for homeless people. She proudly shares, quote, women are a minority in the construction industry. Having more female builders is always empowering, end quote. Go women. I would personally never do physical labor like that, so I'm glad somebody is.
That is fantastic.
Amazing women.
And I've worked with folks who are trying to help the homeless, and to be proactive like this, is fabulous.
It is.
So, yay.
Yay for them. Yay for you. Right?
Yes.
Well, we're going to leave it on a high note. That's all the time that we have today for the report. Thank you for tuning in, and do tune in next week for more news, views, and info. I'm Ryan Matthey.
I'm Jefferson Denham.
And I'm Alexa Cardenas for Bree Eastlick. Stay fresh, Fullerton.